Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, watching the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime was bigger than any city on Earth, spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Lights covered its surface, like stars, and ships from 12 different alien races moved around it like busy insects. Jake had dreamed of this moment since he was a child, but now that it was here, his stomach felt tight with worry. Dr. Lisa Grant walked up beside him, holding a data pad filled with information about the alien species they were about to meet. She had studied every piece of data Earth had gathered about the Galactic Confederation for the past 6 months. Her brown hair was pulled back in a neat style, and her green eyes showed both excitement and concern. The bird-like species called, "The hegemony will be the most difficult to deal with," she said quietly. "They value honor above everything else and follow very strict rules about how to behave." Ambassador Helen Brooks was already dressed in her best formal clothes, a dark blue suit that represented Earth's colors. She had been chosen for this mission because she was the best diplomat Earth had ever produced. She could speak 12 human languages and had managed to solve conflicts that other people thought were impossible. But today she faced something completely new. "How strict are their rules?" she asked Dr. Grant. "Very strict," Lisa replied. "If we make even a small mistake, they might see it as a great insult. They have something called honor codes that control everything they do. The way they stand, the way they speak, even the way they look at each other has meaning." Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner was checking the security systems one more time. He was a tall man with short black hair and calm blue eyes that never seemed to worry about anything. Alex had fought in Earth's last war and knew how to stay cool when things got dangerous. "What happens if they get insulted?" he asked. "They challenge people to fights," Lisa said. "But their fights follow rules too. They see fighting as an art form, like dancing or music. They fight to show skill and honor, not to really hurt each other." Jake nodded and activated the communication system. "This is Captain Morrison of the Earth ship Horizon requesting permission to dock at Nexus Prime." A voice came back immediately, but it did not sound human. The words were clear but had a strange musical quality. "Earth Vessel Horizon, you are welcome at Nexus Prime. Please follow the guide ship to Docking Bay 7. A small silver ship appeared next to them and led them toward the station. As they got closer, Jake could see the docking bay was huge, with space for ships much larger than the Horizon. Other vessels were already docked there, and Jake tried to recognize the different alien designs from the pictures Dr. Grant had shown him. The docking process went smoothly, and soon they were walking through a corridor that connected their ship to the station. The artificial gravity felt exactly like Earth gravity, which was helpful. The air smelled clean but had a slight metallic taste. The walls were covered with lights that changed colors in patterns Jake did not understand. They entered a large, round room where representatives from all 12 alien species were waiting. Jake had seen pictures of them, but seeing them in person was still shocking. The hegemony representatives looked like giant eagles that walked on 2 legs, with dark blue feathers and sharp yellow eyes. The crystalline beings looked like living diamonds that somehow moved and spoke. There were creatures that looked like underwater plants, others that seemed to be made of metal, and some that glowed with their own light. At the center of the room stood Council Prime Thex Umon, the leader of the Confederation. The crystalline being was tall and beautiful, with light moving through its body like water. When it spoke, its voice sounded like music. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We have waited long to meet the newest intelligent species in our galaxy." Ambassador Brooks stepped forward and bowed slightly, the way Dr. Grant had taught her. "Thank you for welcoming us, Council Prime. Earth is honored to meet the Galactic Confederation. We have prepared a ceremony to mark this historic moment," Thexumon said. "Each species will present a gift to Earth, and Earth will present gifts to us." The ceremony went well at first. Each alien species brought something beautiful or useful. The hegemony gave them a weapon that was also a work of art. The plant-like Verdani gave them seeds that could grow food in space. The metal beings called constructs gave them tools that could build almost anything. When it was Earth's turn, Ambassador Brooks presented music, art, literature, and scientific knowledge from human civilization. The aliens seemed pleased with these gifts, and Jake began to relax. But then came the formal greeting ritual. Dr. Grant had warned them about this part. Each species had its own way of showing respect, and humans had to respond correctly to each. 1. The crystalline beings touched their heads together, which was easy. The plant-like Verdani exchanged scents, which was strange but not difficult. Then came the hegemony's turn. General Krixtal, their representative, stepped forward. The bird-like alien was enormous, almost 8 feet tall, with sharp claws and a curved beak. The general's dark blue feathers were decorated with silver patterns that showed his high rank. General Krixtal spoke in a voice like distant thunder. To show respect between warriors, we exchanged the ritual of strength. Dr. Grant whispered, quickly to Ambassador Brooks, "He wants you to touch his wingtip with your hand and say the honor phrase." But Ambassador Brooks was nervous and she made a mistake. Instead of touching his wingtip gently, she grabbed it firmly like she was shaking hands. Instead of saying the honor phrase in the hegemony language, she said it in English. General, Krixtal's yellow eyes flashed with anger. His feathers rose up, making him look even bigger and more dangerous. A sound like an angry eagle came from his throat. "You mock the ancient ways," he screeched. "You treat our sacred ritual like a human. Business meeting." The room became completely quiet. Jake felt his heart beating fast. All the aliens were staring at them, and he could sense that something had gone very wrong. Ambassador Brooks tried to apologize, but General Krixtal cut her off. "Words cannot fix this insult. Only blood can restore honor. I challenge your strongest warrior to ritual combat." Jake looked at Alex Turner, who stepped forward without hesitation. "I accept the challenge on behalf of Earth," Alex said calmly. General Krixtal studied Alex with his sharp eyes. "Good. We fight now, with honor weapons, until one yields or falls." Dr. Grant whispered urgently to Jake, "This is ceremonial. Neither fighter is supposed to get seriously hurt. It's about showing skill and bravery." The aliens formed a circle around Alex and General Krixtal. Weapons were brought from somewhere in the station. Strange devices that looked like crosses between swords and lightning rods. Alex picked up his weapon and tested its weight. General Krixtal moved first, fast and graceful like a hunting bird. His weapon moved in complex patterns that were beautiful to watch. Alex defended himself, using skills he had learned in Earth's military. The two fighters moved around each other, their weapons clashing with sounds like small thunder. Then something happened that changed everything. As Alex fought, dodging the general's attacks and striking back, a small smile appeared on his face. It was not a mean smile or a cruel smile. It was the kind of smile humans got when they were enjoying a challenge, when they felt alive and excited. 2. Alex, this was like a sporting match or a training exercise. He was having fun testing his skills against an alien warrior. The smile grew bigger as he began to understand the general's fighting style, and started to fight back more effectively. But to every alien watching, that smile was the most terrifying thing they had ever seen. In all their experience, creatures only smiled during violence if they enjoyed causing pain. No species in the Confederation had ever developed humor as a way to deal with stress or danger. Alex's smile grew as he fought harder, and whispers of fear began among the watching aliens. Even General Krixtal seemed disturbed by the human's expression. The fight ended when Alex managed to disarm the general with a clever move, his weapon pointing at the alien's throat. Alex was still smiling as he offered his hand to help the General Krixtal stared at Alex's smiling face and stepped back in horror. His voice was quiet but filled with fear when he spoke to the council. This human smiled while fighting. He found joy in battle. This species has the madness of pleasure and destruction. They are dangerous beyond measure. 3 months had passed since the incident at Nexus Prime, and the story of the smiling human warrior had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On every alien world, in every space station, beings whispered about the strange new species that found joy in violence. The tale grew stranger with each telling, until humans were described as demons who laughed while killing, and monsters who fed on the fear of their enemies. Commander Sam Parker was not thinking about any of this as he sat in the captain's chair of the UES Defiant, a small patrol ship assigned to protect human cargo vessels in the outer systems. Sam was a practical man with gray hair and kind brown eyes, who had spent most of his life keeping people safe. He joined Earth's new space fleet because someone needed to watch over the cargo ships that carried supplies to the new human colonies. His ship was small but fast, with a crew of only 20 people. Most of them were young and excited to be exploring space. Engineer Maya Rodriguez was the brightest of them all, a woman who could fix anything and make it work better than before. She had short black hair and quick hands that never stopped moving when she talked about her work. "Commander," said Lieutenant Ben Davis from the communication station, "we're getting a distress call from the cargo ship New Hope. They're under attack by pirates about 2 hours away." Sam stood up immediately. "Set course for their position. Maximum speed. Send a message to Earth Fleet Command about the situation." Maya was already at her station, making sure the ship's weapons and engines were running perfectly. "The New Hope is carrying medical supplies to the colony on Kepler 442, she said. "They have a crew of 8 humans and about 50 alien passengers who were traveling to the colony." "Pirates," Sam said with disgust. "The Void Syndicate again, I bet. They've been getting bolder since they heard about the tension between humans and the Confederation." The Void Syndicate was a group of criminals from many different species who lived in the empty spaces between star systems. They attacked cargo, ships and space stations, stealing whatever they could sell and hurting anyone who tried to stop them. Most governments tried to hunt them down, but space was too big, and the pirates were too good at hiding. 2 hours later, the Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately saw the battle. The New Hope was a big, slow cargo ship with almost no weapons. Around it flew 6 smaller pirate ships, fast and deadly, firing energy weapons that lit up space with bright colors. "The cargo ship's shields are almost gone," reported Lieutenant Davis. "I'm getting life signs from inside, but some sections have been damaged." "Maya, give me everything the engines can handle," Sam ordered. "Weapons, target the pirate ship closest to the cargo ship. All crew, this is going to be interesting." That last comment made several crew members smile. Sam Parker was famous for his calm attitude during dangerous situations. He never got angry or scared, and he often made jokes to help his crew stay relaxed. To the humans on the ship, this was just their commander being himself. The Defiant shot forward like an arrow, its weapons firing at the nearest pirate ship. The pirates were surprised by the sudden attack and scattered in different directions. Sam's ship was smaller than any of theirs, but it was much faster, and the crew knew how to use it. "Nice shooting, Davis," Sam said, as one of the pirate ships exploded. "Maya, can you give me more power to the forward shields?" "Already done, Commander," Maya replied with a grin. "I also improved the weapon cooling systems. We can fire twice as fast now." "You're amazing," Sam laughed. "Remind me to give you a raise." The battle continued with the Defiant dancing between the larger pirate ships, hitting them and moving away before they could hit back. Sam's crew worked together perfectly, each person doing their job while making jokes and encouraging each other. When things got dangerous, they laughed. When the odds looked bad, they smiled and worked harder. "Commander," called Lieutenant Davis, "I'm getting a communication from the cargo ship. The captain wants to thank us, and some of the alien passengers want to talk to us." "Put them through," Sam said as he guided the ship around another pirate. "Attack." The main screen showed the bridge of the New Hope. Captain Linda Hayes was there, a woman with tired eyes but a grateful smile. Behind her stood several alien passengers, members of different species who had been traveling to the human colony for various reasons. "Commander Parker," Captain Hayes said, "thank you for saving us. We thought we were going to die." "Just doing our job, Captain," Sam replied with a warm smile. "How are your passengers?" But as the camera showed the alien passengers, Sam noticed they looked terrified. Not grateful, not relieved, but actually afraid. A Verdani passenger, one of the plant-like beings, was trembling. A small creature that looked like a furry ball with big eyes was hiding behind the others. "They're fine," Captain Hayes said, but she looked confused too. They're just, well, they seem scared of something. Sam did not understand, but he had work to do. 2 pirate ships were still attacking, and more might be coming. We'll talk more after we finish cleaning up this mess, he said, and the screen went dark. The battle continued for another hour. The Defiant destroyed 3 more pirate ships, and the last 2 finally gave up and flew away. During the entire fight, Sam's crew had been joking, laughing, and encouraging each other. They worked like a perfect team, and their good mood never changed even when things got dangerous. "Excellent work, everyone," Sam announced to his crew. "Maya, your improvements to the weapons saved us at least 10 minutes. Davis, your shooting was perfect." Everyone did exactly what they needed to do. The crew cheered and congratulated each other. They were proud of their work and happy that they had saved the cargo ship. To them, this had been a successful mission and a good day. But unknown to the humans, every moment of the battle had been recorded by the security systems on the New Hope. The alien passengers had watched in horror as the human crew laughed while fighting, smiled while shooting at enemies, and seemed to enjoy the entire dangerous situation. To beings who had never developed humor as a way to cope with stress, the humans looked like creatures who found pleasure in violence and destruction. The sight of Sam Parker smiling while his ship destroyed pirate vessels was terrifying to them. One of the passengers, a crystalline being named Zex Marine, had been recording everything with a personal communication device. The recordings would soon be sent across the galaxy, spreading to every alien world and space station. 3 days later, the recordings appeared on alien information networks with comments that made humans sound like the most dangerous species anyone had ever discovered. The titles of the news reports were frightening: "Humans Laugh While Killing," "The Smiling Destroyers," and "Battle-Mad Species Threatens Galaxy." Dr. Lisa Grant tried to explain what had really happened when alien scientists contacted her. She spent hours in video conferences with a xenopsychologist from 12 different species, trying to help them understand human psychology. "Humans use humor and laughter to deal with stress and fear," she explained patiently. "When we smile during dangerous situations, it does not mean we enjoy violence. It means we are trying to stay calm and work together." But the alien scientists did not understand. None of their species had ever developed anything like human humor. To them, showing pleasure during violence could only mean one thing: humans were a species that enjoyed fighting and killing. "Dr. Grant," said one alien psychologist, a being that looked like a walking tree, "in our studies of thousands of species, we have learned that creatures who show pleasure during violence are always predators, who hunt for enjoyment rather than necessity. Your species may be more dangerous than anything we have ever encountered." "But we're not like that," Lisa protested. "Humans fight to protect others, not because we enjoy hurting people." "Then why do you smile?" asked another alien scientist. "Why do you laugh when others would feel fear or sadness?" Lisa tried to explain evolution, how humans had survived ice ages and disasters by staying hopeful and working together. She talked about how humor helped humans bond with each other and stay strong during bad times. But the more she explained, the more worried the aliens became. The idea that humans had evolved to find joy in surviving terrible situations was even more frightening to them than the idea that humans just enjoyed violence. It suggested that humans were a species that became stronger when things got worse, that they actually performed better under pressure and stress. Meanwhile, on Earth, government leaders were receiving reports about the growing fear among alien species. Admiral Kate Sullivan, the head of Earth's small space fleet, was meeting with President Maria Santos and other important officials. "The situation is getting worse," Admiral Sullivan reported. "Trade with alien species has almost stopped. Several Confederation worlds have banned human ships from their space. There are rumors that some species want to take military action against us." President Santos was a calm woman who had led Earth through many difficulties, but this situation was unlike anything she had ever faced. "Can we convince them that they're wrong about us?" "Dr. Grant has been trying for weeks," Admiral Sullivan said. "But the more she explains human behavior, the more scared they get. They think we're a species that becomes more dangerous when we're in trouble." Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the command center deep under the Earth's surface. staring at the display screen that showed 300 alien ships surrounding the solar system. She was a woman who had spent her entire life in the military, first fighting Earth's last war, and then building humanity's first space fleet. Her short gray hair and steady blue eyes had seen many battles, but nothing like this. "They've been there for 6 hours," reported Colonel Ryan Walsh, the leader of Earth's Special Forces unit called the Grim Reapers. Ryan was a tall man with dark hair and scars on his hands from years of dangerous missions. No communication, no movement, just waiting. The alien fleet was massive beyond anything humans had ever imagined. The largest ships were the size of cities, covered with weapons that could destroy planets. Smaller vessels moved around them like protective birds, and strange energy fields connected the ships in patterns that human scientists did not understand. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Kelly Foster from the communication station, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet. It's coming from the largest ship." "Put it on the main screen," Admiral Sullivan ordered. The screen filled with the image of General Crixtal, the hegemony leader whose fear of humans had started this entire crisis. His dark blue feathers were decorated with silver patterns that showed his high rank, and his yellow eyes burned with the intensity of someone who believed he was saving the galaxy. "Humans of Earth," the general said in his voice like distant thunder. "I am General Crixtal of the Galactic Confederation Defense Force. We have come to offer you one final chance to avoid the destruction of your species." Admiral Sullivan stepped forward. "This is Admiral Sullivan, commanding officer of Earth's Defense Forces. What do you want?" "Your species suffers from a dangerous mental condition," General Crixtal continued. "You find pleasure in violence and become stronger during conflict. This makes you a threat to all peaceful civilizations in the galaxy. We offer you the choice of psychological reconditioning to remove this dangerous trait, or complete removal, from space." "You want to change our minds or destroy us?" Admiral Sullivan said flatly. "Those are our choices. Your species cannot be allowed to spread through the galaxy unchanged," the general replied. "We have seen the recordings of your crews laughing while fighting and smiling while destroying enemies. No peaceful species can coexist with beings who find joy in battle." Admiral Sullivan looked around the command center at her officers. Every face showed determination mixed with disbelief. The aliens wanted to change human nature itself or wipe out humanity completely. "How long do we have to decide?" she asked. 72 hours, General Crixtal said. "After that time, if you have not agreed to reconditioning, we will begin the cleansing of your system." The screen went dark, leaving the command center in silence. Admiral Sullivan looked at the tactical display showing the alien fleet. 300 ships against the 24 vessels that made up Earth's entire space force. The odds were so bad they were almost funny. "Well," said Colonel Walsh with a slight grin, "at least we won't have to worry about being outnumbered for very long." Several officers chuckled at this comment, which would have horrified any alien observer. Here were humans, facing the complete destruction of their species, and they were making jokes about it. Admiral Sullivan activated the planetary communication system. "This is Admiral Sullivan broadcasting to all human colonies on Earth. We are facing an alien fleet that demands we submit to mental conditioning or face destruction. I am calling for all available ships and personnel to return to Earth immediately. This is not a drill." The response was immediate and surprising. Instead of panic or despair, reports began coming in from across human space showing something the aliens had not expected. Volunteers were flooding recruitment centers on every human world. Retired military personnel were requesting to return to active duty. Civilian ships were being converted to military use as fast as possible. Captain Ben Taylor was commanding the old cruiser UES Liberty when the call came. The ship was 15 years old and had been scheduled to be scrapped next year, but Ben had kept it running through skill and determination. He was a man with kind eyes and graying hair who had been planning to retire after this mission. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "Earth Command is requesting all ships return immediately. We're at war." Ben Taylor looked around his bridge at his crew of 30 volunteers who had signed up to serve on an old ship that most people thought was ready for the junkyard. "Well, people," he said with a smile, Looks like the Liberty gets to go out fighting instead of rusting in a shipyard. Anyone want to transfer to a newer ship? Not one person moved. His crew had served with him for years, and they trusted him completely. More importantly, they were excited about the chance to show what their old ship could do in a real fight. Similar scenes were happening throughout human space. Nina Foster, a young pilot who had just graduated from flight school, volunteered for the most dangerous assignment available, flying a single-person fighter against ships the size of cities. When her commander warned her that the mission was basically suicide, she grinned and said, "Sir, I didn't join the Space Force to live forever." The alien observers watching human space were confused and disturbed by what they saw. Instead of the panic and despair they expected, humans seemed to be getting more excited as the situation became more hopeless. Military bases that had been quiet suddenly came alive with activity. Shipyards that had been building cargo vessels started converting them to warships. Most disturbing of all were the intercepted human communications. Instead of frightened messages about certain death, humans were sending messages like, "This is going to be epic, and time to show these aliens what humans can really do." Dr. Lisa Grant was working frantically to establish communication with alien scientists who might be able to reason with the fleet. She had managed to contact Dr. Vel Thera, a hegemony scientist who specialized in studying alien psychology. "Dr. Vel Thera," Lisa said during their video conference, "you have to help me make your military understand. Humans don't enjoy violence. We use humor and optimism to cope with dangerous situations." The alien scientist looked like a smaller version of General Krixtal, with lighter blue feathers and gentler eyes. "Dr. Grant, I have been studying the recordings of human behavior during conflicts. Your species shows all the signs of what we call combat addiction disorder. You become more active and energetic when facing danger." "That's not addiction," Lisa protested. "That's evolution. Humans survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, plagues, and predators by staying hopeful and working together during the worst times. What you're seeing is our survival mechanism." "But that makes you even more dangerous," Dr. Velthara said, with fear in her voice. "A species that becomes stronger when facing destruction cannot be defeated by normal means. You become more dangerous the more pressure we apply." Lisa realized with growing horror that the alien was right about one thing. Humans did perform better under pressure. The worse things got, the more determined and creative humans became. What the aliens saw as mental illness was actually humanity's greatest strength. But she also realized that this meant the aliens would never understand humans well enough to trust them. They would always see human resilience as a threat to galactic peace. Meanwhile, Admiral Sullivan was meeting with Earth's top military commanders to plan their defense. The numbers were terrible. 24 human ships against 300 alien vessels. The alien ships were larger, faster, and had more powerful weapons. Human technology was at least 50 years behind alien standards. "We can't win a direct fight," reported General Patricia Lee, head of Earth's ground forces. "Their smallest ships are more powerful than our best cruisers." "Then we don't fight directly," Admiral Sullivan said. "We use what humans do best. We adapt, we improvise, and we refuse to give up." Colonel Walsh spread out tactical charts showing the solar system. "The aliens are positioned in a standard blockade formation. They're following their military doctrine perfectly, which means they're predictable." "What do you have in mind?" Admiral Sullivan asked. "Hit-and-run attacks using small groups of ships," Ryan explained. "Force them to chase us through the asteroid belt and around the gas giants. Make them fight on our terms instead of theirs." Admiral Sullivan studied the plans and smiled. It was a dangerous smile, the kind that had worried aliens throughout the galaxy. "It's crazy enough that it might work. And if it doesn't work, at least we'll give them something to remember us by." The next day, reports began reaching the alien fleet about human preparations for battle. Fleet Admiral Zix Kala, the overall commander of the alien forces, was disturbed by what his intelligence officers told him. "Admiral," reported one of his staff officers, "human ship movements suggest they are actually planning to fight us. Their communications indicate high morale and eagerness for battle." Fleet Admiral Zix Kala was a crystalline being whose body showed his emotions through changing colors. Right now he was glowing orange with confusion. They have 24 ships against our 300. Logic suggests they should surrender immediately. Sir, their behavior matches the reports about human battle madness, the staff officer continued. The 72-hour deadline had passed, and space around Earth erupted into violence unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Sullivan watched from her command ship as 24 human vessels charged toward a fleet 15 times. Their size, and what she saw, filled her with both pride and terror. Captain Ben Taylor's ancient cruiser Liberty led the first attack wave, its old weapons blazing against a hegemony battleship that dwarfed it completely. The Liberty should have been destroyed in the first exchange of fire, but Ben had spent 15 years learning every trick his old ship could perform. Maya, give me everything the engines have, Ben called to his engineering officer, who had transferred from the Defiant specifically to serve on the Liberty's final mission. You've got it, Captain, Maya Rodriguez replied from the engine room, her hands flying over controls as she pushed the ancient systems beyond their design limits. I've also rerouted power from life support to weapons. We'll have about 10 minutes of full power before things get uncomfortable. 10 minutes is all we need, Ben said with a grin that would have terrified any alien observer. Davis, target their weapon systems. Let's see if we can take some of their teeth out. The Liberty danced around the massive alien battleship like a small bird attacking a giant, hitting critical systems and moving away before the aliens could target them effectively. Ben's crew worked with the smooth efficiency of people who had served together for years, each person knowing exactly what the others would do. But what made the aliens watching truly afraid was the sound coming from the Liberty's communication channels. The human crew was laughing, joking, and encouraging each other as they fought against impossible odds. They sounded like people who were having the time of their lives. Nice shooting, Davis, Ben called out as their weapons destroyed one of the battleship's main gun turrets. Maya, how are those engines holding up? Like a dream, Captain, Maya's voice came back over the intercom. I think the old girl knows this is her last fight and wants to make it count. That's the spirit, Ben laughed. Let's show these aliens what happens when you threaten Earth. Similar battles were happening throughout the solar system as human. Ships engaged the alien fleet in dozens of separate fights. The humans had abandoned all standard military tactics in favor of pure chaos, forcing the aliens to fight in ways their training had never prepared them for. Nina Foster was flying her single-person fighter through a formation of alien cruisers, her small ship moving so fast and unpredictably that the aliens could not track her effectively. She had destroyed 3 enemy fighters and damaged 2 larger ships, all while maintaining a running commentary that her flight controller found both inspiring and slightly insane. This is Pilot Foster to control, she called over the radio as she spun her fighter between 2 alien ships and fired missiles at both of them. I'm having some trouble deciding which target to hit next. There are so many choices. Foster, you're supposed to hit the priority targets, came the voice of her flight controller. Control, when you're surrounded by enemies, every target is a priority target, Nina replied cheerfully as she destroyed another alien fighter. Besides, I think I'm making them angry, which is always good for morale. The alien pilots trying to catch her were indeed becoming angry and frustrated. Nina's fighter was too small and fast for their larger, more powerful ships to hit effectively, and her constant joking over the radio was beginning to affect their concentration. But the most disturbing thing happening from the alien perspective was taking place on the Liberty. Captain Ben Taylor had realized that his old ship could not survive much longer against the massive firepower of the alien fleet, so he made a decision that shocked everyone. All hands, this is the captain, Ben announced over the ship's intercom system. We've given them a good fight, but our weapons are almost gone and our shields are failing. So we're going to try something that's either completely crazy or absolutely brilliant. He paused for a moment, then continued with what sounded like genuine excitement in his voice. We're going to ram the biggest ship in their fleet and take it out with us. Everyone who wants to transfer to an escape pod has 30 seconds to get there. The alien observers monitoring human communications could not believe what they were hearing. Not only was the human captain planning to destroy his own ship in a suicide attack, but he sounded happy about it. Even more shocking, Not one member of the Liberty's crew chose to abandon ship. Maya Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom from the engine room. "Captain, I've got the engines running at 150% of maximum power. If we're going out fast." Lieutenant Davis called from the weapons station. "Sir, I've rigged all our remaining missiles to explode when we hit their ship. Should make quite a fireworks show." Ben Taylor's response was the most terrifying thing any alien had ever heard a military commander say. "Outstanding work, everyone. This is going to be epic. Let's give these aliens something to remember us by." The Liberty turned toward the largest alien battleship and accelerated to maximum speed. The alien ship tried to destroy the approaching human vessel, but Ben Taylor had spent 15 years learning how to make his old ship do impossible things. The Liberty weaved through the enemy fire like it was dancing, getting closer and closer to its target. 10 seconds to impact, Ben announced calmly. "It's been an honor serving with all of you." "Same here, Captain," came voices from throughout the ship. "See you on the other side." The Liberty struck the alien battleship at nearly the speed of light, and the explosion could be seen from Earth. The battleship, which had been the pride of the hegemony fleet, broke apart and died in a ball of fire that lit up space like a small sun. Fleet Admiral Zix Kalla watched the destruction of the battleship from his command vessel and felt something he had never experienced before. Pure, cold fear. His body shifted to deep black, a color that indicated terror among his species. "Sir," reported one of his officers in a shaking voice. The human captain was laughing when his ship exploded. Our sensors picked up his voice transmission right until the moment of impact. "That's impossible," the Admiral said, but his voice showed he knew it was true. "No species laughs while dying." "Sir, we're receiving similar reports from throughout the battle area. Human crews are maintaining high morale even when facing certain death. Some of them are actually singing as they fight." The Admiral looked at the tactical display showing the ongoing battle. The humans had lost 8 ships so far, but they had destroyed 12 alien vessels and damaged many more. More importantly, they were fighting with a ferocity and unpredictability that was disrupting all alien battle plans. Worse yet, instead of becoming demoralized as they lost ships, the remaining human vessels seemed to be fighting even harder. Reports from his ship captains described human crews that became more dangerous as their situations became more hopeless. "Admiral," another officer reported, "General Krixtal is requesting permission to withdraw his remaining forces to regroup." "Withdraw?" the Admiral asked in shock. "We still outnumber them more than 10 to 1. "Sir, the General reports that his ships are having difficulty coordinating their attacks. The human tactics are too chaotic to predict, and his crews are becoming demoralized by the humans' apparent immunity to fear." Fleet Admiral Zix Kalla stared at the battle display and made a decision that would be discussed in alien military schools for centuries to come. "Order all ships to withdraw to the EISA outer system. We need to reassess our strategy." For the first time in the history of the Galactic Confederation, a technologically superior force was retreating from a smaller, less advanced enemy. The reason was simple. The aliens had never encountered an opponent that became stronger when facing defeat. Admiral Sullivan watched from Earth as the alien fleet pulled back beyond the orbit of Neptune. Her remaining 16 ships gathered in Earth orbit, battered and damaged but still fighting. She opened a communication channel to all human forces. "This is Admiral Sullivan to all ships. Outstanding work today. We've shown the galaxy that humans don't give up no matter what the odds." The response from her fleet filled her with pride. Instead of exhausted voices reporting casualties and damage, she heard crews that sounded ready to continue fighting. Captain Parker of the Defiant reported his ship was still operational, despite losing half its weapons. Nina Foster announced that she had enough fuel for at least a dozen more impossible stunts. But Admiral Sullivan also knew that the aliens would be back. They had only withdrawn to plan a new strategy, not given up completely. Earth had won the first battle, but the war was far from over. What she did not know was that the aliens were learning something about humans that would change their understanding of warfare forever. In their retreat, they were not just planning new attacks but trying to understand how to fight an enemy that seemed to defy every rule of military psychology. Deep in space, Fleet Admiral Zix Kala was studying recordings of the battle and slowly beginning to realize that everything the Confederation knew about warfare was wrong. Human battle madness was not insanity at all, but something far more dangerous, an unbreakable will to survive that made them more effective the worse their situation became. Fleet Admiral Zix Kala sat in his command chamber studying battle recordings for the 100th time, his crystalline body shifting through colors that showed confusion, fear, and something new. Curiosity. 3 weeks had passed since the human fleet had forced his superior forces to withdraw, and he still could not understand how it had happened. "Admiral," reported his chief science officer, "Dr. Aaron Blake, the human psychologist, is requesting another communication session." The Admiral changed to a pale blue color, indicating uncertainty. Dr. Blake had been trying for days to establish meaningful dialogue between humans and the Confederation forces. Unlike the earlier attempts by Dr. Grant to explain human behavior, Dr. Blake seemed to understand that the aliens needed to see proof, not just explanations. "Put him through," the Admiral decided. The communication screen showed a middle-aged human man with kind eyes and graying hair who looked more like a grandfather than a military advisor. Dr. Blake had spent his career studying how humans responded to extreme stress, and he had volunteered to help resolve the crisis between humans and aliens. "Admiral Zix Kala," Dr. Blake said calmly, "I have a proposal that might help both our species understand each other better." "Speak," the Admiral replied, his body now glowing with orange curiosity. "I want to show you something that no other species has ever seen," Dr. Blake continued. "I want to invite a small group of your officers to observe human military training exercises. Not combat, just training. I think it will help you understand what you've been seeing in battle." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. "Why would you show us your military secrets?" "Because they're not secrets," Dr. Blake smiled. "What you think is our greatest weakness is actually something we're proud of. We want you to understand it." 2 days later, a small alien shuttle landed at Earth's primary military training center. Admiral Zix Kala had decided to come personally, along with General Krixtal and several other high-ranking officers from different species. They were escorted to an observation deck overlooking a large training area. "What you're about to see," Dr. Blake explained, "is how human soldiers learn to work together under stress." Below them, a group of young human soldiers was beginning a training exercise. Their mission was to cross a dangerous obstacle course while under simulated enemy fire. The obstacles were designed to be nearly impossible, and the enemy fire consisted of paint weapons that would mark soldiers who got hit. General Krixtal watched with his sharp yellow eyes as the human soldiers approached the first obstacle, a wall too high to climb normally. Instead of becoming discouraged, the soldiers began working together, boosting each other up and making jokes about who was heaviest. "Watch their faces," Dr. Blake said quietly. The aliens looked closer and saw something remarkable. As the exercise became more difficult and the simulated enemy fire increased, the human soldiers began to smile. Not cruel smiles or angry smiles, but expressions of genuine enjoyment and determination. "They are finding pleasure in the difficulty," Admiral Zix Kala observed, his body turning deep red with concern. "No," Dr. Blake said gently. "They're finding strength in working together. Watch what happens when one of them gets in trouble." One of the soldiers slipped while climbing a rope and fell into a mud pit. Instead of being angry or discouraged, his fellow soldiers immediately began making jokes about how he looked covered in mud. The soldier who fell was laughing as his teammates helped him up. "They mocked their comrade's failure," General Krixtal said with disapproval. "They're helping him stay confident," Dr. Blake corrected. "In human psychology, humor is how we tell each other that mistakes are not permanent failures. The laughter means you're still one of us and we believe you can succeed." The training exercise continued, and the aliens watched in growing amazement as the human soldiers faced each new challenge with increasing energy and teamwork. When the simulated enemy fire became heaviest, the soldiers worked together more smoothly. When the obstacles seemed impossible, they became more creative in solving them. Most remarkably, when several soldiers got killed by the paint weapons, they cheered for their surviving teammates and offered advice from the sidelines. There was no shame in failure, only encouragement to do better. "They do not fear death or failure," Admiral Zixkala said, his body now glowing with purple fascination. "We fear them," Dr. Blake agreed, "but we don't let that fear control us. We use it to make us more careful and more determined." The exercise ended with the human soldiers completing their mission, despite heavy simulated casualties. But what happened next surprised the aliens even more. The soldiers who had been killed early in the exercise were congratulated just as much as those who survived to the end. "Everyone did their job," the training instructor told the group. "The people who drew enemy fire away from their teammates were just as important as the people who reached the objective." Dr. Blake turned to the alien observers. "This is what you see in our space battles. Not madness or bloodlust, but the result of millions of years of evolution that taught us to stay hopeful and work together when things look impossible." General Krix-Tal was quiet for a long time, his feathers ruffled with deep thought. "Your species has turned desperation into strength. Every intelligent species does that," Dr. Blake replied. "You just do it differently. Your people find strength in honor and tradition. The crystalline beings find strength in logical analysis. Plant species find strength in patience and growth. Humans find strength in refusing to give up and supporting each other." President Maria Santos arrived at the training center that afternoon to meet with the alien delegation. She was a woman who had led Earth through many crises, and she understood that this conversation might determine humanity's future in the galaxy. "Admiral, General," she greeted the aliens formally. "I hope our demonstration has been helpful." "It has been enlightening," Admiral Zixkala admitted, his body cycling through several colors. "But we still face a problem. The Confederation fears that human traits could destabilize galactic peace. What if we could prove that humans can make the galaxy more stable, not less?" President Santos asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the base. An officer ran up to President Santos with an urgent message. "Madam President, we're receiving distress calls from across the galaxy. The Void Syndicate has launched a massive invasion fleet. They're attacking Confederation worlds throughout 3 sectors. Admiral Zixkala's body flashed bright red with alarm. "Impossible. The Void Syndicate has never had enough ships for a large-scale invasion." "They do now," the officer reported. "Intelligence suggests they've been building their fleet for years, waiting for the right moment. With the Confederation forces concentrated here around Earth, most of their worlds are defenseless." President Santos looked at the alien admiral and general. "How many ships do you have here?" "Nearly half our total fleet," Admiral Zixkala admitted. "And how long would it take them to reach the attack sites?" "Too long," General Krix-Tal said grimly. "Many worlds will fall before we can return to defend them." President Santos smiled, and for the first time the aliens understood that a human smile during a crisis was not frightening, but reassuring. "Admiral Sullivan," she called to her military commander, "how many ships can we have ready for faster-than-light travel within the hour?" "All of them, Madam President," Admiral Sullivan replied. "My crews have been hoping for a chance to work with alien forces instead of fighting against them." "You would help us defend our worlds?" Admiral Zixkala asked in amazement. "Admiral," President Santos said, "humans don't abandon their friends when things get tough. That's what you've been seeing in our battles. We get stronger when people we care about are in danger." 3 hours later, a combined human-alien fleet was jumping to faster-than-light travel toward the first battle site. Admiral Sullivan found herself commanding a mixed force of human and alien vessels, with alien crews learning to work alongside humans for the first time. The first engagement against the Void Syndicate came at the crystalline homeworld, where pirates were attempting to destroy the beautiful crystal cities that had taken centuries to grow. The combined fleet arrived just as the pirate ships were beginning their bombardment. "All ships, this is Admiral Sullivan," she broadcast to the mixed fleet. "Remember, we're not just fighting for territory. We're fighting to protect homes and families. Stay close to your wingmates and watch each other's backs." What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the moment everything changed. As the battle began, and the odds turned against the combined fleet, something remarkable occurred. The alien crews, working alongside humans for the first time, began to understand what human battle behavior really meant. When the crystalline vessel Harmony took heavy damage, its captain began to despair as his ship's beautiful crystal structures cracked and broke. But Captain Parker of the Defiant immediately moved to protect the damaged ship, his crew working frantically to keep the aliens alive. "Harmony, this is Defiant," Parker called over the radio. "Don't worry about your ship. We've got your back. Focus on getting your people to safety." To the crystalline captain's amazement, Parker's crew was laughing and joking as they risked their own lives to save aliens they had never met before.